Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Chan. I'm a sales director at Quotient, and I'm going to be your moderator for our next panel. As we approach the end of the year, we're going to be taking a look back at 2022 and then a look into the future for what the programmatic trends are going to look like for 2023. With that, I have the pleasure of introducing you to our panelists. I'll start first with Randy Pesso from Kinetic. Do you mind giving a quick intro, please?
Sure. Hi, Randy Pesso. I'm a group director at Kinetic. I've been at Kinetic for quite a while. I won't go into how many years. I lead the Coke business as well as Unilever, Mars, DoorDash, Lufthansa, and a lot of other accounts that I won't get into, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. And then we'll move over to Ben Abbatiello from Hivestack.
Hello, all. I'm the global supply lead for Hivestack. I've held similar positions with Abbatiello and Beachfront Media, and I interface with our media owners on a daily basis.
Perfect. And then Chris Grosso from Intersection.
Hi, I'm Chris Grosso. I'm the CEO of Intersection. We're probably the largest independent out-of-home company and very much focused on digital out-of-home, including the Link NYC program in New York City.
Awesome. So as we are talking about, how we're growing digital out of home as part of that omni-channel strategy, Ben, I'll kick it over to you. What are kind of your thoughts in terms of really integrating digital out of home into that full picture?
I think it's driving brand awareness at the point of purchase. I mean, retailers are definitely going to be our biggest media owners. Their first-party data is very valuable. So creative use of place-based inventory, credible way to embrace an audience. Chris knows that and knows it well. So that's one way, I would say.
Okay. And then Chris, would you add anything to that?
Well, I think, again, the power of what we can bring differentiated from other media is around location and place, and being able to hyper target these locations, and that location's a great proxy for context in a lot of ways. Between location and day part, you can do a lot of really powerful targeting. In a world where the ability to online target, particularly around location or anything right now, given the new standards in iOS and Android around privacy, really gives us an advantage. I think location and day part is a really powerful context that can be leveraged by advertisers very, very effectively.
Yeah, and we really, I also came from kind of like the internet background, as you termed it, and I am really seeing that digital out of home does have all of the same capabilities that really traditional kind of digital media has. So Randy, as part of your discussions, how are you kind of talking about the level of parity of digital out of home as it relates to kind of some of the expectations that clients have with traditional out of home, traditional digital media?
Sure, absolutely. I think it goes to behavior targeting, audience targeting that we can do. I think it's important to note how important our channel is to the path of purchase. So you want to reach the consumer at various touch points throughout their journey. It's not just traditional digital. It's not just in-store. It's various points. And I think, again, measurement is a great way for us to prove that it works and we should be part of that journey.
Awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
I would just jump into what Randy and Chris had said, because it's really about, we live in an ADHD world, right? And that journey is a constant reminder that we're able to practice with digital out of home. So you can't ignore our screens, and the user experience has become increasingly more important for us. So that journey becomes even more important as a result. So great call out by Randy, no doubt.
Yeah, and it's such important. The creative becomes so important in that too. I have a 12-year-old girl, and we've used social amplification on TikTok videos on the Link NYC network of TikTok stars. And it's amazing. My 12-year-old never sees anything, never notices anything. I worry about her on the street. She stopped and looked at the link and said, "Oh, wow, and I don't remember the name of the TikTok star. I apologize. is on the link. And, it's one of these TikTok stars that none of us have heard of, and everyone under the age of 22 is, has 30 million followers. But I think the power of that, to be able to stop people on the street and see stuff and cut through the clutter. Another way we do it is full, takeovers of the city, where you take an hour across New York City and buy the entire link network. I mean, these are very powerful mediums that no other media has the ability to cut through the clutter in this highly fragmented world that we're in. I think the reach on some of these out-of-home networks, Link and others that we have, as well as what other people reach, are far beyond the type of reach you can get in traditional media, given the level of fragmentation. So the power of the creative, the power of the location, and the power of this mass reach vehicle that can be hyper-targeted by location, I think is uniquely powerful in the media space right now.
And just to build on that, Chris, I think, and we're doing a good job of trying and ensuring that digital out of home and outdoor in general is included in the modeling that goes on for the channel allocation, and to show the efficiency. And, you put a % towards outdoor and look at what you're going to get, the scale and the impression and the reach.
Yeah, the Link network in New York City, and there's other, street furniture networks that can do this, the DOOH and Outfront and others run as well. It's ubiquitous, 100% reach. Like, we can look at this as 95% reach. There's no media that you can do, no other media in today's world you can do that anymore. And I think that's the real power that we have as well.
Great. So we're going to move on to our next question, but I just wanted to see if, there were any other trends that we didn't touch upon yet that you really saw happen in 2022, and, how we think those trends are going to continue to grow or evolve for next year. Let's start with Ben, coming from more of this technological background with Hivestack.
Yep. Ton of trends. Honestly, this was the year. This was the year of inflection, I think, for digital out of home. So, 5 big trends that just jump out at me are mediation through header bidding. It's getting so congested out there with SSPs continuing to influence. This will require less of a daisy chain or a water flow practice and more of a unified auction or a flattening of the ad call. And the reason we're going to do this is to create standards, right, which can be passed, like screen size, IFAs, all different types of parameters passed through the ad call, where we can mature as an industry and balance our buying and density. Loop-based sales often direct in tandem with modern programmatic ad serving. That's another trend I see. Really what that means is that collision of direct sales, usually in a CMS, driven by an impression model that's usually driven through programmatic means. And really what I'm seeing is a holistic approach, basically melding of two, and how we can operate those two in harmony. That's a real trend that's happening. And that trend must happen without causing sales channel conflict. So something to really keep an eye out. We're calling it modern ad serving, and I think that's a really good definition for it. Another trend I'm seeing is cross-border budget. International campaigns seeking to make an impact here in the States. They're looking to either reach their audience, an American audience. So that's really been a big trend, especially for us here. Sustainability requirements being enforced. I think that's more of a 23 trend, but you're starting to see it percolate here in 22. Chris and myself have been on panels discussing it already. And of course, the emergence of video, probably the biggest trend for place-based, and really what that's going to do for the industry. Does that look like CTV, public versus private video? These are raging debates, I think, happening across the industry. The good thing is, just like TV, just like CTV, we can pass those signals to buyers. So Randy knows not only the audience and the screen she's buying, but some other qualities. So this is really important. These are trends that are happening in real time. And I think 2023 will be about all 5 of them.
Wow, that was a great summary of your top trends. I will open it up to Randy and Chris for your reactions and to see if you agree with those or if you would add anything.
I mean, from our perspective on the agency side, I think, yes, there's a lot more conversations. There's a lot more people within the mix. So technology, innovation, more people are stepping in and getting involved within the programmatic digital out of home space. We're having more conversations this year than we ever had. which is great. But I think it's going to take a little bit to break through and see what's going to sustain versus all these people coming in and saying, I can do this, I can do that. So we need to, test it and learn and prove that. One thing that we did notice this year, just from a digital out-of-home perspective and programmatic, was a lot different than last year, where it was you can turn on, you can turn off very quickly. That was what we were pushing because there was a lot of unknowns going on last year. This year, we're in a much better place. Things are open, we're out and about, and it's much more speed to market. So we had brands coming in and wanting to go live within days in some cases. So from brief to implementation, sometimes was less than 7 days. So we would lean into a lot of digital out of home for that. And then also the creative flexibility too. A lot of people wanting to come in and change creative quickly, different creative, AM, PM, weekends, things like that. So those are, 3 trends that we're seeing this year.
And,
sorry,
Chris, go ahead.
I agree with Randy. The continuous shortening of the sales cycle. Every time you think the sales cycle gets shorter, it gets even shorter. And that has a couple of interesting implications. One thing I'll say is a really interesting trend is with all of the more sophistication in targeting, the importance of yield management on the publisher side becomes more and more important. As we got, when we start getting to fourth quarter, we've got 4,000 screens in New York. We had many screens literally sold out at these sort of peak times. So things around like the New York City Marathon was a huge peak. Things around Black Friday was a huge peak, both from the direct sales and the programmatic sales. So the fact that I think getting better around yield and the short buying cycle is great, but there's going to be a real premium being able to lock down the primo locations, because at the end of the day, this is somewhat a real estate business, and location is always king. So I do think the demand for high value locations will continue to grow over time, because this is a lot of these screens, whether they be the Times Square billboards or some of our screens on Fifth Avenue, that is the beachfront property and out of home, and that's going to continue to be more valuable. The other thing I would say related to that is the changing audience patterns in cities. As a publisher, we're really in the audience development business. And, post-COVID, the traffic patterns, both pedestrian and vehicular, and how people go to work is very different in a city like New York or Philadelphia or Chicago. And what we're noticing is, while the downtown areas have less foot traffic because people go to work 3 days a week, the reach is still the same. So you have to think about reach as well as frequency, which becomes important. But in addition, the frequency in the neighborhoods is much higher. So we'll take a look and we'll see, like, on the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side in New York, the ad impressions are actually significantly higher on our network, while in Midtown, they're actually lower. And you're seeing that kind of new traffic pattern. So I do think the buying patterns are going to change a bit, because you're going to want to get your media out to the neighborhoods and be much more pushed out, as opposed to, hey, I'm going to buy Times Square, I'm going to get everybody. That's not the case anymore. You've got to get your much more distributed media to be able to reach that. And programmatic is a great way to do that, because you can spread your spend out. So I think the how people manage yield and how people buy is going to be more sophistication is going to be needed there, because the world has changed and people's behavior in these cities is very different now than it was before the pandemic. There's still tons of people out. They're just out in different places now.
Yeah. And on the planning side, both from a programmatic perspective and a direct digital perspective, we're being able to see that just based on the advancements of the audience measurement and movement patterns and things like that. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, what really resonated with me, all of your remarks did, both Randy and Chris, but the yield management part is really interesting. We're coming from a static 2-week in advance way to flight campaigns. And we have these screens that we know that sell out, our spectaculars, our high volume screens with our brands. It's that incremental revenue, those gaps that yield management digitally help, because imagine you're in operations, you've got 2 weeks of schedules in front of you. It's combing for events, and it's a really difficult, minute process. So the digital capabilities that now are coming into this industry allow us to quickly, efficiently find those spots and add brands in those spots, which ultimately ends up in more incremental revenue, makes us leaner, makes us more, filled closer to 100%, which is nearly impossible unless you're a spectacular. So that's why I'm calling that out. Great call out, Chris, and Randy, your comments as well.
And, I think what's really exciting is all of the challenges that you guys had mentioned in terms of yield management, changing foot traffic patterns, the necessity for speed to market. These are all things that programmatic really, we have the data, we have the technology to really attack and solve for some of these challenges. So on that optimistic note, I think we'll end our panel here. Thank you so much for all of our panelists for sharing your thoughts with us, and cheers to a great 2023.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.